Hello everyone, my name is Sarafi and I'm happy to meet you all, and today we're going to be talking about Gimmick Puppets. Gimmick Puppets just came out today in Master Duel. I've been playing them on stream. I had a lot of fun. The deck is very challenging. Um, we'll go over why that is in a moment. But it's a burn-focused control deck, and I don't recommend this deck to you unless either you really like Gimmick Puppets like I do, or you really know how to play the game, because this is a deck that is very unforgiving. With that in mind, I'm sure this is going to be a popular deck, and I'm sure a lot of people are interested to see what this deck can do. So let's go over the options. For the hand traps and staples, we are playing 3 copies of Max C, because we want to make sure that our opponent feels intimidated and doesn't want to play the game. The fewer options our opponent has in turn 1, the better off we are going second. 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs. The primary reason we want to do this is to make sure that our opponent can't Max CS. Max C in particular, and what's it called? Cyframe Gear Gamma. Those are the 2 cards that we're the most concerned about. We don't really care about our opponent's plays all that much, but we really don't want to get hand trapped. We are playing 2 copies of Called by the Grave. This is to stop Ash. Crossout Designator along with Nibiru to make sure that we can't get Nibiru'd. 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. This is a very useful card to have, primarily because it is a monster negate that prevents the opponent from responding to it. So this is a great way to deal with Omni negates in particular. And 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. So that's 3, 6, 7, 9, 10, 13, 16. 16 hand traps in a 40 card deck. I think that's fairly standard if you're trying to be really competitive. So, you know, what you guys would expect. Most of you probably already have all these cards anyway. Now for the main deck, we have 1 copy of Gimmick Puppet Scissor Arms. Scissor Arms is a level 4 Dark Machine monster. When this card is normal summoned, you can send 1 Gimmick Puppet monster from your deck to the graveyard. This is an interesting idea. This can miss timing, so be careful about that. But this card, primarily, you want to use this card to set up extension. If you are, in the middle of your combo, you potentially mill Dreary Doll with this. Maybe you mill Fiendish Knight or Rouge Doll. Those 2 cards can be added to your hand. So it's a very similar effect to playing Little Soldiers. The main benefit of Scissor Arms over Little Soldiers is that you can do both in the same turn. And we'll see that in the replay. Gimmick Puppet Terror Baby. This is a level 4 level 4 Dark Machine with 500 attack and 0 defense. When this card is normal summoned, you can target 1 Gimmick Puppet monster in your graveyard except Terror Baby and special summon it in defense position. You can banish this card from your graveyard. Your opponent can activate cards or effects in response to the activation of your Gimmick Puppet monster effects this turn. So this card makes all of your Gimmick Puppet monsters spell speed 4. They can't be negated except by cards like Imperm that would negate them before they activate their effects. And your opponent can't stop you from doing anything. They can't really react. As long as you continue to activate monster effects, your opponent will only have the option to respond, say, after you summon a monster, right? So Terror Baby is a very powerful lockdown card, and we mill it with Condolence Puppet. Alright, Gimmick Puppet Little Soldiers. This is a UR, and it is deservedly so. Level 4 Dark Machine Monster, 0 attack points, 0 defense points. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send 1 Gimmick Puppet monster with a different level than this card from your deck to the graveyard. This card's level becomes that monster's level. So this is dumb. First of all, it triggers off of a special summon as well as a normal summon, which is weird. I don't know why it would do that. And it allows you to send a monster for a cost. So this is Foolish Burial that can't be ashed. If your opponent tries to Effect Veiler or Imperm this, all that happens is that the card does not change its level. It still gets to mill the card, which is the primary benefit. So this is a very dangerous card indeed. It's very difficult for people to interact with Little Soldier. And yeah, you're going to play this at 3 and you're going to love it. You can only use this effect once per turn. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target up to 2 Gimmick Puppet monsters you control, increase their levels by 4 until the end of the turn. So, not up to 4, 4. So you would use this on your level 4s to make them level 8, so you can make some rank 8 plays. That's an interesting idea. That part is not once per turn, by the way. Alright, Gimmick Puppet Fiendish Knight. Level 4 Dark Machine Monster, 1800 attack, 500 defense. If this card is in your hand, you can target one Gimmick Puppet monster in your graveyard or one monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to its owner's field and defense position, but its effects are negated, and then special summon this card. That's really good. So it can revive a monster to your side of the field while also special summoning itself for free, and that monster can be an Xyz monster, but it can't be a Link monster. No big deal. If this card is sent to the graveyard, except from the hand, you can add it to the hand. That's great. So you can add this off of Scissor Arms milling it. You can add this off of the Foolish Burial, the Condolence Puppet, or the Little Soldiers. So there's a heavy emphasis on self-mill in this deck. You can only use each effect of Gimmick Puppet Fiendish Knight once per turn. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck the turn you activate either of this card's effects, except for Gimmick Puppet monsters. So Fiendish Knight hard locks you into Gimmick Puppets, which is why we have nothing but Gimmick Puppets in our extra deck. We are playing one copy of Gimmick Puppet Dreary Doll. This is a level 8 Dark Machine Monster with 0 attack points and 0 defense points. If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish one other Gimmick Puppet monster from your graveyard to special summon this card. You can only use this effect of Gimmick Puppet Dreary Doll once per turn. Cannot be used as material for an Xyz summon, except for the Xyz summon of a Gimmick Puppet monster. So Dreary Doll is an interesting card. It's a huge brick, which is annoying, but it's a very powerful card, specifically for recursion. You can keep using Dreary Doll's effect every single turn, detach it to pay for cost. It's going to be in your graveyard again. As long as you have another Gimmick Puppet in your graveyard, you can keep banishing it and keep resummoning it. But the thing is, and this is a decent card in Duel Links, but the problem with this card in Master Duel primarily was, for a long time, the Gimmick Puppet restriction. Gimmick Puppets aren't good cards, so the fact that this card couldn't be used except for the Xyz material of Gimmick Puppets made it kind of not as interesting. So this is, just an interesting choice. I like it a lot. You only need one copy of it. You can just mill it and then banish to special summon it, and it's a free extender. We are playing one copy of Gimmick Puppet Bisque Doll. You can special summon this card from your hand by discarding a Gimmick Puppet. That's pretty nice. You can banish this card from your graveyard. Your opponent cannot target Gimmick Puppet monsters you control with card effects this turn. So this card is a very useful card to have because it can be special summoned with Rouge Doll, and its grave effect just kind of makes it so that you can't be impermed, or effect veilered, which is just solid. Yeah, like we said, our primary goal is worrying about our opponent's hand traps. We have a lot of cards to stop our opponent from hand trapping us, so good on. Next up, we have Gimmick Puppet Cattle Scream. This is a level 8 Dark Machine Monster with 2,000 attack and 2,000 defense. You can detach one material from an Xyz monster you control. Special summon this card from your hand or your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. That's a heavy cost, but if the monster is used as Xyz material, then it will go to the graveyard instead. So that never comes up unless you specifically link it off for some reason. You can only use this effect of Gimmick Puppet Cattle Scream once per turn. A Gimmick Puppet Xyz monster that has this card as material gains this effect. Once per turn, you can target one monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your opponent's field in defense position. So Cattle Scream has the ability to force your opponent to summon more monsters to their sides of the field, so that you can potentially destroy them with your Gimmick Puppet monsters and even burn your opponent. That's a useful card, and it's a very good effect. It's similar to a card I use in Runic Sprite, which is Mannequin Cat. I think it's like number 28. It's a number monster, Mannequin Cat. And that monster, you primarily want to special summon monsters from your opponent's graveyard so that you can then target them and summon a monster with the same attribute from your deck. This card, though, you want to bring back like one of your opponent's biggest monsters and then just destroy them and get extra damage. Obviously, intentionally on Konami's part, the best target for this is an Xyz monster, because the Xyz monster will likely have decent stats as opposed to a main deck monster, but since it has no overlay units, it won't be as threatening to you to summon it back unlike a Synchro monster or a Link monster. And you can't even special summon Link monsters. That's right. So yeah, pretty good card. And the free extension is just nice as well. It's also neutral rarity, so that's really great for us. We're playing Foolish. Send one monster from your deck to the graveyard. Targets will usually be either Terry Brady or Bistal, maybe Druidal. Rank up Magic Numeron Force. Target one face-up Xyz monster you control. Special summon from your X deck one number C monster with the same type as that monster, but one rank higher by using this as Xyz material. Then, if any face-up cards are on the field other than this card and the monster summoned by it, negate the effects of those cards. So Numeron Force is a nice card to use going second to basically Dark Ruler no more, but without stopping you from killing your opponent. That's a really good card, obviously. So, rank up Magic Numeron Force, being able to just say your entire board is negated is really good. Obviously, your opponent will try and respond to this unless they don't read it. And if they don't read it, then you win the game. So, good card. You can search this with Fantasy 6. Rank up Magic Argent Chaos Force. This card is dumb. This card is so good. Target one rank 5 or higher Xyz monster you control. Special summon from your extra deck one number C or Chaos Xyz monster that is one rank higher than that monster you control by using that target as material. This is treated as an Xyz summon. Transfer its materials to the summon monster. When a rank 5 or higher Xyz monster is special summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand. You can only use this effect of Argent Chaos Force once per duel. So it allows you to rank up any of your Gimmick Puppet monsters and then also comes back to your hand for free once per duel. You can search this off of Fantasy 6. It's amazing. Fantasy 6 also recovers it for you. So there's just so much synergy. The fantasy of ranking up all three of your base Gimmick Puppets in the same duel, just like Quattro did to Nash, is very much real with Argent Chaos Force. So, good card. Condolence Puppet. This card is stupid. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know why this is a rare. This is like a better version of Foolish Burial, and it's a rare. So we're going to run 3 of it. Send Gimmick Puppet monsters with different names from your deck to the graveyard up to the number of monsters your opponent controls that were special summoned from the extra deck +1. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Machine Xyz monster you control. It cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects while it is face up on the field forever. I love Lingering Protection. Lingering Protection is the best protection in the game. You can only use each effect of Condolence Puppet once per turn. So this is, it's just like a Foolish Burial, but you can hit like 3 cards, and you can play it in the same turn as Foolish Burial, and it's not limited, and it's rare. I don't get it. This is an insane card. I would play 6 of these, and you might say, well, Gimmick Puppets aren't as good as Foolish Burial targets. Maybe not when Condolence Puppet was printed, but now they are. Now they are. Oh, did I skip Rouge Doll? I think I skipped Rouge Doll. My fault, guys. Rouge Doll. If this card is in your hand, you can reveal one Gimmick Puppet Xyz monster in your extra deck, special summon both this card and one Gimmick Puppet monster with the same level from your deck. With the same level as the revealed monster's rank. So you reveal level 8, special summon this card, special summon another level 8 from your deck, make a rank 8. Good card. If this card is sent to the graveyard except from the hand, you can add it to the hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck the turn you activate either of this card's effects except Gimmick Puppet monsters. So we're hard locked into Gimmick Puppets with both Rouge Doll and Fiendish Knight, and they're both cards that can be added to your hand just by milling them. So Condolence Puppet is an insane card. Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls. How is this an SR? I have no idea. When this card is activated, you can add one Gimmick Puppet monster from your deck to your hand. Awesome, I love Rhodas. Gimmick Puppet monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle, and are unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monsters except their Xyz monsters. Yes, all of your Gimmick Puppet monsters, as long as you have this field spell out, are unaffected by Ash Blossom, unaffected by Effect Failure, unaffected by Psyframe Gear Gamma, unaffected by Nibiru the Primal Being, unaffected by, what's another good one? Bestial Druid Swarm. You know, whatever hand traps your opponent has, unless they are exactly infinite impermanence, they don't work. It's really, really good. Once per turn, you can detach one material from an Xyz monster you control, target one Gimmick puppet in your graveyard, special summon it to your opponent's field in defense position. That's excellent, and we'll get into why that is in a minute. You can only activate one Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls per turn. So this is just good. This is just good. Also, the both of these effects are a soft once per turn. You can only activate one Mansion per turn, but if it's turn 3, you can Mansion to summon a monster to your opponent's side of the field, then activate another Mansion from your hand, then summon another monster from your opponent's side of the field again. So I love effects where it's just like you have a soft once per turn, but you can only activate one, because that just means you can just have multiple copies and just win the game. The last card in the deck is Service Puppet Play. This is a trap card. Target monsters your opponent controls up to the number of Gimmick Puppet Xyz monsters you control. Take control of those monsters until the end phase. Okay. So during your opponent's turn, if they summon like 3 monsters and you have 3 Xyz monsters, yoink. Those are all mine until the end phase. Perfect. That's a great way to stall the turn out. And then your opponent has summoned all their big monsters. They can't do anything with them. You give them back, and then you just kill them all, and your opponent dies. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, and you control a Gimmick Puppet Xyz monster, you can banish this card, and then target one Xyz monster in either graveyard, special summon it to either field in defense position. You can only use this effect of Service Puppet Play once per turn. So, just a good card. Alright. Extra deck. Gimmick Puppet Gigantes Doll. This is a rank 4 dark puppet machine monster that has 2,000 defense points. Requires 2 level 4 Gimmick Puppets. You can detach 2 materials from this card, target up to 2 monsters your opponent controls, and gain control of them until the end phase. Also, for the rest of this turn, you cannot special summon monsters except Gimmick Puppets, nor can you declare an attack except with Xyz monsters. You contribute this card, all monsters you currently control become level 8 until the end of this turn. You can only use each effect once per turn. Gigantes Doll is very funny. So, the idea of Gigantes Doll, obviously, is that either you take control of your opponent's Xyz monsters and you just beat them to death with them, or if your opponent doesn't have any Xyz monsters, you take their monsters, you sacrifice your Gigantes Doll, you make both of your opponent's monsters level 8, then you use them as Xyz material to make one of your rank 8s, and you beat them to death that way. Really cool. We have number 15, Gimmick Puppet Giant Killer. This is a rank 8, 1500 attack, 2500 defense, 2 level 8s. Up to twice per turn during your main phase 1, you can detach 1 material from this card, target 1 special summon monster your opponent controls, destroy it. Then if that monster was an Xyz monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack points. So this is why we want to give our opponent Gimmick Puppet monsters. This means that we can make sure our opponent will always have Xyz monsters that we can target with our Giant Killer to burn our opponent to death. Excellent. We are playing 2 copies of number 40 Gimmick Puppet Heaven Strings. 3,000 attack, 2,000 defense, rank 8, 3,000 dark machine. Requires 2 level 8s. As a soft once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, place 1 string counter on each face-up monster on the field except this card, and then once per turn during the next end phase of the opponent of the player who placed a string counter by this effect, destroy the monsters with string counters, and if you do, inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. So, you detach a material to give all of the monster string counters, and then during your opponent's next end phase, every monster that has a string counter dies, and your opponent takes 500 damage for each one. It's an interesting idea. It will never happen. We have other things that we want to do with this. We are playing 1 copy of number 88 Gimmick Puppet Destiny Leo. This is a dark rank 8, 3,200 attack, 2,300 defense. Requires 3 level 8s. As a soft once per turn, if you have no cards in your spawn trap zone, you can detach 1 material from this card. If you do, place 1 destiny counter on this card, and you cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you use this effect. If there are 3 destiny counters on Gimmick Puppet of Leo, you win the duel. It's an interesting idea. Obviously, we're not going to really try and win the game with this card, but it is useful to put cards in your graveyard. This is a good card to target with your Cattle Scream to remove an extra material from it. It's just a solid option. Here's our new card with the amazing animation. Rank 8 Gimmick Puppet Fantasix Machinex. That is a 1500 attack, 3100 defense. Requires 2 level 8s. You can detach 1 material from this card. Add 1 rank up magic spell from your deck to your hand. Also, you can normal summon 1 machine monster during your main phase this turn in addition to your normal summoner set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. If you special summon a Gimmick Puppet Exceeds monster except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your graveyard to into either field and defense position. Then you can add 1 rank up magic spell from your graveyard to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. This card draws you Argent Chaos Force. And then, if you summon a monster while this card's in your graveyard, it comes back and it gives you Argent Chaos Force again. And then you could Argent Chaos Force use its effect to get it back from the graveyard too. So this is like 3 Argent Chaos Forces in 1 turn. It's crazy. This card is insane. 10 out of 10. We're playing 2 copies of it. Alright, next up is Chaos number 15, Gimmick Puppet Serial Killer. This is rank 9, 2500 attack, 1500 defense. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy it. Then if it was a monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack points. Again, fits perfectly in line with our strategy. It allows you to destroy monsters without those monsters being Exceeds monsters and still burn your opponent, so this is a great way to win the game. Chaos number 40, Gimmick Puppet Devil Strings, 3300 attack, 2000 defense, rank 9. If this card is special summoned, destroy as many monsters with string counters as possible. And if you do, draw 1 card, then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the highest original attack of those destroyed monsters in the graveyard, your choice if tied. So you put spring counters on everything on the board, and then you rank up your Gimmick Puppet Heaven Strings and Gimmick Puppet Devil Strings, and you blow the board up on your turn. And then you burn your opponent for a certain number of attack points. It's pretty good. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, place 1 string counter on each face-up monster your opponent controls. So that's an interesting idea. Obviously, that's... I don't know what the original point of this card was. I mean, obviously, the board clear is really good, but the second effect is very interesting. It's almost like they intended for people to rank this card down and then rank it back up to get the blow-up effect again. Primarily, the main benefit of having the second ability is just to give your Chaos number 40 the ability to detach a material. Because you need your Exceeds monsters to be able to detach materials on command, so, yeah. Alright, we are playing 1 copy of Chaos number 88, Gimmick Puppet Disaster Leo. This is a rank 9 with 3500 attack and 2500 defense. Must be special summoned with a rank up magic spell that targeted number 88 Gimmick Puppet of Leo. Neither player can target this card on the field with card effects. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card and inflict 1000 damage to your opponent. And during your end phase, if your opponent's life points are 2000 or less and this card has no materials, you win the duel. So that's really good, obviously. Yes, and Cattle Scream, both Cattle Scream and Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls detach a material from an Exceeds monster you control without targeting that monster. So you are able to remove materials overlay units from your Chaos number 88 very easily. And then that basically gives you the ability to, first of all, burn your opponent for 1000, but secondly, it basically adds an additional 2000 damage to your total in terms of determining whether you've won the game or not. So this is a good card that you can make in a pinch. It's not the easiest card to summon, but it does have a lot of synergy with the rest of your decks, so definitely a card to just have as a one-of. Alright, our big boy, Chaos Exceeds Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Machinex. So these 2 monsters are not number monsters. It's just a Chaos Exceeds monster. Rank 9, 3100 attack, 1500 defense. If this card is special summon, you can add 1 puppet trap from your deck to your hand. So this card will draw you your surface puppet play. You can detach 1 material from this card, special summon 1 monster from either graveyard to your opponent's field in defense position. If a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field except during the damage step, you can target 1 of your opponent's monsters and destroy it. Then you inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its original attack points. You can only use each effect of a Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Machinex once per turn. So that's great. So first of all, you get to special summon a monster to your opponent's side of the field. Then you can trigger its effect to pop at that monster and destroy it. But the second effect does not require the first effect. So if you pass to your opponent, Now your opponent can't summon a monster without triggering Fanatics' effect, and you just burn them. So if you are not able to FTK your opponent, what you can do is you can set your puppet play to mess with your opponent, and you can also have your Fanatics out, and your Fanatics can then just be like this big bomb sitting there. It says, if you summon a monster that's too powerful, I'll destroy it, and you'll lose the game instantly. It depends on how much damage you deal to your opponent, but you get the idea. It's a really good card. I mean, destroying monsters, burning your opponent, these feel like very fair abilities. There's no negates here. There's no, there's no interrupts. It's just basically, can your opponent survive the burn? And then also, you have to jump through a bunch of hoops to give your opponent a bunch of your own monsters so that you can win the game. So it's not necessarily the best deck, but it does feel very much like Gimmick Puppets. Like, all the new cards feel like the old cards, which is interesting. Lastly, we are playing 2 copies of Gimmick Puppet Chimera Doll. This is a Link 2, requires 2 machine monsters, 1500 attack points. During your main phase, if you control this Link Summon card, you can activate this effect. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except machine monsters. Also, take 1 Gimmick Puppet monster from your deck, either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. Then, if all your monsters you control are Gimmick Puppet monsters, as a minimum 1, you can special summon 1 Gimmick Puppet monster from your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. Okay. This is a pretty good effect. Alright, so that is it for the deck. Let's take a look at the replay. Alright, so we're going first. We have Maxi, Ash, Gimmick Puppet, Little Soldiers, and Drury Doll. We're going to mill and with our Condolence Puppet and make it so that our monster is spell speed 4. Little Doll, add Rouge Doll to hand. Rouge Doll, reveal the level 8. Special summon both the Cattle Scream and the Rouge Doll. Rank these 2 up into Fantastics Machinax. Detach 1. Grab the Argent Chaos Force. Argent Chaos Force, rank up. Summon the Fanatics Machinax. Fanatics Machinax, grab the Service Puppet, play Trap. Set it. Detach 1. Special summon. And the opponent's going to use Bestial Baldrake at this point to banish our Fanatics Fantasix from the graveyard. So now we're going to rank up into Gimmick Puppet of Strings. We'll get back our Argent Chaos Force. Strings, detach 1, put a counter on the Fantasix. Detach 1, special summon the Cattle Scream to the opponent's side of the field. Then we're going to use Argent Chaos Force to make Dark Strings. Dark Strings, destroy our own monster. Deal 3100, draw a card. Condolence Puppet, banish. Target the Gimmick Puppet of Dark Strings. The opponent cannot destroy it now. And we pass. So our opponent's turn, they summon Centurion Trudea. We're going to max C. They will set the Primera and then special summon it. It's Primera effect. We will Ash Blossom that. The opponent is then going to use our Cattle Scream to rank up into the Superstar Slayer Typhon Star Crisis. We draw our Called by the Grave. We're just going to take this. The opponent activates Stand Up Centurion, then Emblem Oath to set the trap from the deck. Then they're going to pitch 1 to play the Gargoyle, and they pass. Now we get Typhon back to the opponent. Alright, Puppet play, banish it from graveyard to revive our Fantasix. The opponent is going to special summon their monster and increase its level by 4. We will immediately chain Maxi. And now they get to Synchro Summon. And if you're wondering, so they Synchro Summon, if you're wondering why I don't destroy that monster with my Fanatics, it is because Typhon stops me from doing so. Alright, we normal summon the Little Soldiers and we mill our Rouge Doll. The opponent is going to imperm us, so we don't get to change its level, but that's fine. Rouge Doll add itself to hand. Rouge Doll effect, special summon another Rouge Doll from the deck. And we rank up into the Chaos, or number 15, Gimmick Puppet Giant Grinder. The opponent then uses their Centurion Phalanx to banish it until the end of next turn. So we'll special summon the Bisque Doll, then use the Dreary Doll we discarded to special summon it as well, and rank up into Fantasy 6 Machinex again. Then we set 1. We're going to beat over this Typhon so that we can have our Fantasy 6 active, and we pass. Opponent's going to use their Aquila, and then it's our turn. We get our number 15 back. The opponent is going to special summon Primera. We will use Called by the Grave already to banish the Primera that was in their graveyard to start with. So they don't get to search. Then we just destroy it. They take 800, and they concede. There you go. So we didn't have any negates. We didn't have any ways of like stopping our opponent from doing much of anything, but we just kind of burned them, destroyed their cards, put them in a bad position to start with. We had a lot of hand traps, and that was how we won the game. So that's Gimmick Puppets in a nutshell. My name is Srafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.